Hello. Today is a follow-up lesson for our guided notes. And unlike our guided notes, our directions are given in paragraph form. So we're going to read through those together. We're going to cut the directions, and that means we're going to circle, we're going to underline, and then we're going to try a strategy. So we're going to cut through. If we start, it says first, we need to name the original expression as a monomial. Let's remind ourselves that's one term. A binomial, that would be two terms. And a trinomial would be three terms. And a polynomial is what we would say after that it's more than three. More than three. Okay. Next, it says then circle and box like terms. So we're using a circle and box method. So let's underline that as well. Okay. Then it says we're going to combine the like terms. So that's what we're going to do the third step. And then finally, it says identify the simplified version once again as a monomial. So let's write that down just to remind ourselves repeatedly. It's a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, or a polynomial is more than three. We don't give it a special name. So let's follow these directions. It says first we have to name the original expression. And so if I look at this, I see 1, 2, 3 terms. So we're going to call this a trinomial. The original is a trinomial. And then it says then use the circling and boxing method for like terms. So we're going to circle negative 4x. We're going to circle plus 5x. And we're going to circle minus 3x. So here's a high school way of looking at this. These plus and minus signs, we're going to look at like positive and negative signs. So in the past lesson, we've had a line drawn on our paper to gather like terms. I'm going to draw a line and possibly another line if I need it. But I can see that all three of these are indeed like terms. So we're going to write those down on this line. They're all like terms. So I'm going to look at this negative or this positive 5x as just 5x. And I'm going to look at this negative 3 minus 3x. We're going to start looking at our minus signs kind of like they're negative signs. That's kind of the high school way to do this. So we have these three terms. And if you recall, when we combine terms, we're adding. So we're going to add the coefficients. We're going to add negative 4 plus positive 5 plus negative 3. So would you please use your calculator and combine these numbers, add these numbers? And so if you came up with negative 2, you are correct. We have negative 2, and now we need to bring down the x. So this is negative 2x. That's our answer. So we've combined the terms. And now if you look at the direction, it says finally identify the simplified version. That's certainly simplified. We started with 3 terms. Now we have 1. And we want to identify it as a monomial, binomial, trinomial, or polynomial. Well, one term is a monomial. So we're going to write our simplified version is a monomial. So now let's go to the second example. So as I look at this second example, I have 2x plus x, and if you recall, we'd like to put a coefficient in front of any variable that doesn't have one. We have 4 and we have 3x. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we're going to call this one, this original, is a polynomial. It has more than 3 terms, so we just call it a polynomial. So now we're going to use the circling and boxing method. I'm going to circle 2x. The next term is also x, so I'm going to circle this 1x, and then I'm going to circle plus 3x. So this 4 is different, so we're going to put a box around it, including the sign. We always take the sign in front of it. So we can see we have two different sets of terms. So I'm going to put all my x terms on this line, and I'm going to put my constants on this line. So we have 2x, then plus 1x. It's a plus, so I'm going to write it as a positive, and plus 3x. So I'm going to write this as positive 3x. And remember, we're combining the coefficients. Then, on the other line, I'm going to write 4. This 4 doesn't have a variable with it, so it's a constant. Would you please add the coefficients of x and tell me what this would be? If you said it's 6, you're correct. This is 6, and now we drop down the variable. And this 4 just comes down. There's nothing to combine it with. And this is our final expression. So our simplified version would be what? If you said it's a binomial, you're correct. There's 2 terms there, and the prefix bi means 2. Would you please look at number 3 now and tell me what type of polynomial it's starting out as? What is it originally? If you said it's a binomial, you are correct. Excuse me, a polynomial, you are correct. There's more than 3 terms, so we're going to call it a polynomial. Now we're going to start our circling and boxing method. So we're going to look at that as a term that has x in it. This is another term that has x in it. Then we have a constant, and we have another constant. So we're going to need 2 lines to gather up our like terms. We have negative 2x, and we have positive. We're going to use our plus sign as positive 5x. Then, again, I see minus 5, but I'm going to use that as a negative 5. And I see plus 3. I'm going to use that plus 3 as a positive 3. So we're using our plus and minus signs interchangeably with negative and positive signs. So now when I go to add this first set, I have a negative 2 plus a positive 5. So can you please tell me what my x terms, when I gather them up and combine them, what it would be? If you said this is 3x, you are correct. And then we're going to combine our negative 5 with our positive 3. Would you please do that? And if you said that's negative 2, you are correct. So I wanted to address there's a couple ways we could write this. We could write this as plus negative 2, but the high school way, instead of writing as plus negative 2, we could go back and look at our negative 2 as if it's a minus 2. So this is how it would be written in a book as an answer, the high school way to write it. However, this is correct. This other way is correct, and you can write it whichever way you prefer. So if we look at this simplified version is a binomial. There's 2 terms there, no matter which way we write it. Would you please turn this paper over to, on the back side, you're going to notice it's blank. Unfortunately, it did not get copied as needed. So would you please pause the video right now, and would you write number 4 and number 5 on the back of your paper? As you start this, you may notice that we have several variables that do not have coefficients. So we're going to draw coefficients in. And now would you name what type of polynomial this original is? If you said polynomial, you are correct. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 terms. What do you think we should gather up on this first line? So we would gather up our x terms. And so this is what should be gathered up on the first line. And the second line would be our constant of 6. Would you please simplify this expression? When we add all the coefficients of 1, we get 3x plus 6. Please say what type of polynomial the simplified version is. If you said binomial because it has 2 terms, you're correct. Now let's look at the last one we're going to work on today. Would you please state what type of polynomial this is? Because this has more than 3 terms, it is just a polynomial. So let's circle what are like terms. So these 2 terms are like terms because they have x. This term, and this term are like terms because they are constants. So now let's gather up our like terms on the line. We're going to look at our 7x is a positive 7x, and that minus 5x, we're going to look at like it's a negative 5x. This minus 3, we're going to look at like it is a negative 3. And then we have a plus 2, so positive 2, and a plus 1, so positive 1. What will the result be when we combine 7x and negative 5x? If you said 2x, you are correct. What is the result when we combine all of our constants? If you said 0, you are correct. So this is an unusual situation when we get this. Now, we could leave it this way, and if we left it this way, this would be considered a binomial. We have 2 terms, but we don't really want to leave it this way because our ultimate goal is to simplify. So how do you think we could write this other than what I have written so far? If you said just 2x, you are correct. We would prefer to write this as 2x. This is the most simplified version of this. Can you tell me what kind of polynomial this is? This is a monomial. It's 1 term. And that certainly is much more simplified or easier to look at, easier to deal with than what we started with. We started with 5 terms and now we're down to 1. Thank you for watching this lesson and have a good day.